I'm going to show you how it's possible to make $50,000 or more per engagement that you do as a speaker, and more importantly, how to blow your audience away every single time. This is Gary Coxe, business and life strategist, and with over 30 years in this industry and over 3,000 speaking engagements and counting under my belt, I'm going to pull together some incredible strategies that I'm going to share with you from all these experiences that'll take your game to a whole nother level. And it's going to be about 7 or so specific areas that will make you more money and will blow your audience away every single time. All right, let's get to the first one. The first one is you must do this. And very, very, very few speakers have this. The big ones do, the big game players do. Here it is. What do you need? Let me get a different pen here. You need this. You need a sizzle. A sizzle what? A sizzle reel. What's a sizzle reel? A sizzle reel adds sizzle. Yes, you ever see bacon in the pan and it's just sizzling and gets you all excited. It smells so good. A sizzle reel in a video gets your audience excited. Never, and I repeat, never, come close, listen to me. Never have somebody introduce you. Only have your sizzle reel do that. What do I mean by that? If you have somebody introduce you and they do a terrible job, they're setting the emotional foundation to bring you on stage. So if they're really boring, hey, we're about to bring you on stage, and they've got a book, and they've done this, and they do that, and then now you got to come up and bring that energy up, that is just like exhausting. But you have it right every single time if you have a sizzle reel. I'm going to show you my sizzle reel in just a moment. You're going to see some of the things that I've included in the sizzle reel. Now, the first thing you're going to be thinking for most people when they watch the sizzle reel is, I don't have all the TV shows and things that you've been on. I don't have all that. Then what do I do? I'm going to talk about that in just a moment. So just take a minute or two, watch my sizzle reel, and I'll show you and I'll share with you the things that I use purposely, intentionally to create a video. You want to make your video, your sizzle reel, to make you look like you're God's brother or sister. It's got to give that much authority to your audience. All right, let's take a watch at this sizzle reel of mine. It's just a minute or two. Let's go.
Gary Coxe is a business and life strategist and best-selling author that regularly appears on stage and national TV and has for over 2 decades. He creates massive transformations that gives his clients and audiences more control and success in their personal and professional lives. You'll hear clients and the media testify that Gary will accomplish more in 1 hour than a therapist can in a year. For years, he's repeatedly demonstrated this ability on Dr. Phil's show, The Doctors. Gary's work has also been featured on everything from The View, Inside Edition, MSNBC, Fox and Friends, Success Magazine, and many others. He's produced countless personal development programs, seminars, and authored best-selling books, his most popular being Don't Let Others Rent Space in Your Head. Gary has a tremendous story of tragedy to triumph.
Gary Coxe started his first business when he was 11. He was making $100,000 a year as a teenager.
Only to lose it all to extreme hardships, to include him leaving a cult he was raised in, which left him with no friends and family in his life. He's turned it all around, whether he's personally whisking away his coaching clients in his private jet to an exotic island hideaway, to jotting off to his seminars, TV shows, or speaking engagements. Gary is truly an example of his own product. It's time now to be part of the Gary Coxe experience, one that will change your life forever.
This is an unduplicatable experience.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand and give a warm, enthusiastic welcome to Gary Coxe.
All right, there you have it. Oh, you don't have to stand up. You don't have to stand up. But if you did, thank you. Thank you. No. All right, here's the deal. I have a tremendous amount of authority in there. I've got all the TV shows that I've done, magazines, and on and on. Now, the first thing I know you're probably thinking, but Gary, I don't have that. Here's one thing. You probably have more than you realize, because a good videographer, and more importantly, a great editor, the editing is what you need in this. And somebody who can produce things correctly, write the right, verbiage, the voiceover, and so on. that person can take a lot of what you already have and make it look amazing, make you look like bigger than big, right? So that's very important. If you think you don't have any of that, that is your next major chess move in the game. You want to be thinking ahead. Okay, the next event that I go to, I need to make sure I get video. And then you're going to compile, we call them assets. If you don't know, you're going to compile these video assets, pictures and images, and you're going to create a sizzle reel. And even to this day, as we get new, cooler footage, we keep changing footage out. A sizzle reel is so important. Remember, never have somebody introduce you. Make your sizzle reel do it for you. Huge, important factor to your success. And I have been using a sizzle reel probably for nearly 30 years. All right, next thing I want you to be thinking about. The next thing that you want to do is I want you to have the mindset, and a lot of people have a problem with this, okay? The mindset I want you to have is I am a closer. Yep, that's it. I am a closer. You're going to be on stage as a speaker, but what you're really going to be doing, you're going to be closing the sale. Some of you thinking, but wait a minute, sometimes I do speaking where they're, like CE credits where you're not allowed to close or sell. That's okay. So then after you've done your presentation, say, hey, I'm done with the CE part of this. Now I'm going to show you my stuff. And if you can't even do that, at least when you have people come to you at the back of the room, you need to have your presentation set up in such a way that you're already setting up the close in your presentation. And most people are not thinking that way. So let's talk about how we do that. If you go into a presentation thinking you're a closer, whether you can, so there's sometimes I'm brought on stage, like they'll pay me a fee of, I don't know, whatever, 25, 50, whatever $1,000, but the stipulation is I cannot sell. Now, just because that I cannot sell, that doesn't mean I'm not a closer. I'm still a closer. Let me give you an example. Let's say you're doing a program on having the right importance on specific things in your life. And you can just weave something in. But I'm showing you how I weave this in, and I'm maintaining that mindset that I am a closer. So I could say something like this. It's crazy how people will spend, and I know you've done it too, I've done it, you'll spend $1,200 or $1,000 on a smartphone, but if we're not careful, we'll neglect to see the importance of investing $200 or $300 in our own personal self, or in our marriage, or in our relationships with friends, or in our health. You see what I'm doing? And even though I'm not selling anything, let's say I wasn't actually selling anything, I would still put that in there, because at the back of the room, when people come up to me, if I'm allowed to sell something in the back of the room but not on stage, I can say something to somebody when they say, well, I don't know if I have the money. Yeah, I know, you may say that, but let me see your phone. Oh, you got a $1,200 phone, and you're concerned about spending $300 on your own success. You follow me? So this is something that's very, very important. Next thing I want you to be thinking about in your presentation, right? As if this is part of closing as well, all right? Remember this, funny is money. Funny is money, all right? What do I mean by that? Funny is money. When you are funny and engaging on stage, people will tend to like you more, trust you more, and now they know more of you because they feel that you're humorous and funny. And it makes it easier for them as a closer. You're the closer. It makes them easy for them to buy from you. This is part of the closer mindset. So if you don't have the closer mindset, you're not thinking about that. So I'll give you an example how I do something that's funny, and I use it to also be entertaining and engaging, which we'll be talking about next, and how to connect with the audience. So here's how I do that. So let's say here I have a bottle of water. And what I'm going to do is I make a strong point with this bottle of water, but at the same time, as I make this strong point, I'm looking for somebody in the audience. They don't know I'm doing this. I'm looking for somebody in the audience who is bald. Really? Okay, why am I doing that? You'll see why. So remember now, I'm gonna go into the audience. I'm walking around doing something, or I'm picking up somebody's bottled water. I'll find somebody who's bald, And then if they don't have bottled water with them, I'll find somebody who's got a drink beside them and I'll bring it over next to the ball person. I'm not going right in front of that ball person yet. You'll understand it in just a moment. So I'll say something like this. And this is talking about how quick our values can change. This is called a chunk of knowledge that I have memorized and put together that I put in my presentations where I need to. So here's how I would use this one. Imagine for a moment you have a bottle of water, right? And I take this bottle of water from you. Really, it's my bottle of water. I'm going to try to sell it to you. I have a bottle of water. You have $1,000. That's right, $1,000 cash in your pocket. And I say to you, hey, I want to sell you this bottle of water for $1,000. How many of you would be willing to pay or invest $1,000 in this bottle of water? Probably wouldn't have too many takers. Now, I say to the audience, watch this. Same bottle of water, you have the same $1,000 in your pocket, but how many of you now, if I said to you, watch how quick things change, how many of you now would be willing to spend $1,000 on this bottle of water if your head was on fire? And everybody laughs a little bit. Then I go over to the ball guy, put my hand on his head, and I say, well, some of you may not need that. And then everybody laughs, all right? What am I doing that for? Funny is money. I'm getting engagement. So there's certain things I do specifically that I know are humorous. I have a program where on stage I take somebody who's deathly phobic of something. And if you want to make a really great presentation, use props. Props are very important. That's why I'm writing on here. I'm using this as a prop. I want you to pay attention as I'm writing things. So as I'm getting ready to write something, you're trying to anticipate, what's he going to write? What's he going to write? I'm doing that to keep you engaged. So in this prop that I use to take somebody who's phobic, what I do is there's so many emotions involved in that, which we'll talk about in a little bit as well, that you want to do whatever you can to keep the audience engaged. You want to use humor, funny is money, and you want to keep them, this is the next thing now, you want to definitely connect with your audience. There are several ways that I connect with my audience. As unusual as this sounds, one of the most powerful ways to connect with the audience is I walk into the audience from time to time, depending on how big the presentation is. Even if I have a presentation with, I've had them as much as 8,000 people, I'll walk into the audience and I'm just doing my presentation. And as I'm doing my presentation, I'll gently maybe put my hand on somebody's shoulder. I'm a professional speaker. I'll put my hand on somebody's shoulder and just touch them. There's nothing flirtatious about it. It could be a guy or a girl, doesn't matter. And I don't do like 5 people like that, but I'll do that every so often, and it just engages the audience. And there's just some magic about that, but that's something I do all the time. Cool, secret little trick that I use. Another thing that you want to do is emotions. You want to get your audience to experience as many emotions as possible. Emotions are very, very important. Now, before I get to emotions, I want to share with you one thing about the problem that I see with speakers. Many speakers have a very, very broken business model, all right? Very, very broken business model. And I'll tell you why. If you want to succeed, really succeed as a speaker, let me tell you how not to succeed as a speaker, even if somebody pays you $10 or $20 or $30,000, because you're only as rich as the next speaking engagement. If you run out of speaking engagements, you're toast. You got a problem. So this is why I told you in the beginning that I am a closer. If you go into the mindset that you're a closer, every time you speak, you must have some type of a funnel. At the bottom of the funnel, you're wanting to bring people at the bottom where you're going to have something that you're going to be selling. Preferably a high ticket item. It could be $2,000, $10,000. I have programs as high as $350,000. $45,000, and of course I've got my books for $20 or $30. My point in telling you this is if you want to exhaust yourself and do speaking engagement after speaking engagement, even though you're getting paid for it, there's a better way to do that. You want to make sure that every time you speak, somehow you've created and designed a model, and that's a whole nother program right there, if you will. But You want to design a model in such a way that the audience that you're speaking to, you can somehow bring them into a process where at the bottom, they're going to make a purchase from you that could be very high end. That is sustainable and scalable. The speaking is just another form of creating leads for that funnel. It's just one part of doing that. That is extremely important. And some of you, who like to just speak for the enjoyment of speaking, and maybe, it's fulfilling for you and you like to impact lives, which should be another reason why you're doing this. But why would you work harder, not smarter? It's working smarter, not harder, if you put your pieces and have your chess moves in the right direction with all intention in mind. So then, as you're still speaking, you're absolutely monetizing and multiplying the ripple effect financially, as opposed to just speaking and going somewhere else and speaking again, whether it's for free or paid. Obviously, if it's for paid, you still have to have some type of a process set up. All right, so like I said, that's a whole nother process in itself. So all right, let's talk about emotions now. You want to engage your audience. There's a couple ways to engage them. One, like I said, is emotions. How do we do that? I try to get my audience to experience an octave of emotions. I want them to get excited. I want them to feel fearful. I want them to cry. I want them to feel emotional pain. I want them to feel happiness, all of that. And if you're going into your presentation with this in mind, how can I engage their emotions? And not just a little bit. Have you ever seen somebody who is auditioning to sing on one of these talent shows on TV? And the people who do not get that buzzer, who do not win or do not get selected, are the people who have virtually no change in octaves in their singing. It's pretty much dry. There's not a lot of high or low. It's just, And they typically always come back, the coach will always come back and say, you've got great skills, but I wanted to see some changes in range in your voice. So you want people to see a range or feel a range in their emotions. Here's one way I do it. So my story, I'll tell you my story and I'll show or share with you how I create emotions in that. And I'll pretend as if like I'm on stage. I'll say something like, so when I was younger, my wife and I, we had a baby. Then later on, she tells me that baby really, true story by the way, that baby really wasn't mine. And then I pause. Right now, people's mouths are like, ugh. Then I say, this is the emotion I want them to feel. I want them to feel the pain. Then I say, it felt as if somebody took my heart out of my chest and ripped it against a cheese grater. The pain was so intense. Can you feel that? Then I talk about my grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. My uncle was killed in a plane crash. Then I get a phone call from my mother to let me know my father had just been shot point blank in his chest and drowned in his own blood. You feel that? Now, I could say my father was murdered, but I want them to connect with me. I want them to feel emotions. And then my mother told me my father had been shot in his chest and drowned in his own blood. Ooh, very painful. Now, I don't leave the audience that way, and I don't want to leave you that way. Then I talk about I add something at this point to bring the emotion up now, because I've got them like, oh my gosh, look at all the stuff this guy's been through. Then I talk about, one of the lessons I've learned in life is how fast can I laugh about the things that were really traumatic in my past. And then I say to the audience, you'll never guess in a million years what my ex-wife's first name was. And remember, when I tell you this, you're going to laugh with me, please, not at me. Because at this point, they don't know if they should laugh or not. Because, I've just shared with them this serious, life-challenging, crazy, stuff that I've been through. So I say, you'll never guess what my ex-wife's first name was. Her name was, and I pause, Angel. That's right, laugh with me, you can laugh with me. And now I get them to laugh. So I took them to the low, the pain, I bring them up to the high. The other thing that you want to do for engagement is, one of the things I talk about is quantum leaps. So I'll say something like this. How many of you would like to, or are here specifically, because in your personal life and your business, you're here to make a quantum leap? Say quantum and raise your hand. Say quantum. I can't hear you, quantum. And they get engaged. I'm controlling that energy. Then I say, well, what's a quantum leap? A quantum leap is the ability to move. Say move, everybody. And I don't care if I have 5 people or 1,000 people. I'll get them to all say move. I can't hear you. Move. The ability to move when you're not ready. Say not ready. Not ready. That's how you engage your audience. So as I'm talking, I'll say stuff like, okay, so one of the things that we have to do is we have to get people to get emotional. I want people to have a lot of different octaves. A lot of different what? Say octaves? Octaves. That's how you do it. It's not rocket science, okay? The next thing that I want you to focus on is this is how you can speak impromptu anytime, anywhere, and just about anything. I like to put stories in my presentation into chunks, all right? Different chunks. All right, so this is a story A, let's say this is story B, and I'll have different names for them. This is story C. So let's say for story A, I have one, it's about a 20 to 25 minute presentation chunk all about how to control negative and positive thoughts. So I have another one about how to understand how beliefs and values can change instantly. That's another chunk. So if you create 10 or 20 of these, then all you have to do, 10 or 20 is a lot, but if you're a professional speaker, I got a bunch of them. And then you can figure out, okay, I want to customize my presentation a little bit. So to customize my presentation, I want to use this chunk, and I'm going to take this chunk and this chunk, boom, and there's your whole entire presentation. My story is a chunk, right? I have in the beginning, I have jokes in the beginning, right? So I like to start off, they're not necessarily jokes, but they're to make you laugh. I'll give you one of them. This is a chunk, right? One of them is, I've been doing dating lately. It's absolutely crazy and ridiculous. So I put that into my spiel, if you will, my stick. And then I also have a lot of that on social media where people follow me. I say, okay, I'm flying to this date, and I'll have a video and stories or something like that. So then I include that in my presentation. I'll say, and recently I went on a date. This lady was like 6 foot tall. And after the date, I text her, "You're an amazing woman. It was a great date." And then like no less than 10 seconds later, by the way, this is the chunk that I've created that I say over and over. And no less than 10 seconds, you see how quick I can go right back to it? Because I've got it down to a science. And no less than 10 seconds, the phone's just like pounding off, just lighting up. And she says, "I don't like you. I'm not texting you anymore. I'm blocking you." I'm thinking, what the, are you serious? And then what I was supposed to text her, "You are an amazing woman." Well, with, the voice recognition thing, what she actually got was, "You're an Amazon woman." All right? And then the audience laughs again. Why? Because funny is money. Get them engaged. That's one of my chunks. So I have humorous chunks. I have serious chunks. I have chunks just for closing. And I could go on and on and on about the different chunks that I use. So put your presentation into chunks. Okay. The next and final thing I'll share with you, it's so important. And they are testimonials. Testimonials. I recently just came from an event in Key West, Florida. It was like a showcase where 50 speakers can showcase their speaking skills in front of a numerous, probably I think it was like maybe 15 or 20 meeting planners. Now, if I was one of those speakers, they gave them 10 minutes. After I was done, and everybody hung around for like 3 days, it was a really cool event. I didn't see I didn't see one speaker, maybe I missed it, but I didn't see one speaker take their phone out and go to 3 or 4 or 5 or 20 or one person who enjoyed their presentation and ask them for a testimonial. Are you kidding me? What are you thinking? You've got to create testimonials. Let me give you an example of a testimonial or two that I use. And then what's important is when you use these testimonials and you get them filmed, you use them in part of your marketing materials, because now you don't have to talk about how great you are. You have the third party validation talking about it. Here's an example.
What's going on? This is Dave Benson, and I just want to give a massive shout out to Gary Coxe. I run the Hustle and Grind Automotive Conference, and we just got done having Gary Coxe speak at it. And you know, when I heard of Gary Coxe, I looked him up on YouTube. But when it was another thing to see him in the flesh, meet him, and experience the transformation in the room. That was the big thing for me as a conference organizer. I don't want just another keynote. What I want is I want people to have life changer and a real experience. And I saw there wasn't a dry eye in the house the entire time. He just captivated the stage. I would have liked to give him 4 times the amount of time. And the first thing I said to Gary afterwards not only was thank you, but how can we go on the road together? So if you're considering having Gary Coxe in your conference for your events, it's an absolute no-brainer because people's lives will be transformed.
Those are powerful testimonials. So testimonials are really, really important for your success. All right, so let's review a little bit of this and then go at it, make it happen. All right, so remember, I want you to go and get a sizzle reel. If you don't have a sizzle reel, start planning now. Let's say maybe right now you have only 2 or 3 parts that you think you could include in a sizzle reel. I suggest on your computer or online, get a little storage folder. In that folder, start putting assets in for your sizzle reel. If you think you have the assets, get started on that now. If you're gonna, that's what I tell speakers. I said, look, if you're gonna spend money, the sizzle reel is probably what you're going to want to spend the most of your money on, or a lot of it. You're not going to want to hire somebody that just slaps a video together that makes stories for you with little emojis in there. That's not what we're looking for. You need a content creator. Somebody, just like when I do TV shows, you have producers and editors. The producer writes the copy, figures out how this is going to look, what's going to happen, what's going on. You need to really think about the setup of your sizzle reel. All right, then remember, you want to go into this with the mindset that you're a what? You're a closer. Think about what you would do and say differently in your presentation. And every presentation that I see, that like the people that I saw their 10-minute presentations, every one of those presentations, not one presentation that I see somebody drip a little something that said they were a closer. I can drip things to say I'm a closer and you don't even know I'm doing it. So let's say you hadn't watched this video and I'm just doing a presentation and I said something to you about, you know, it's crazy how people they don't seem to value a lot of things that are important to them. They'll spend, you know, $1,000 on a phone, but not $300 on their health or their personal growth or going to an event. And I just said that, I'm dripping that in as a closer, but you don't does it sound like I'm trying to close you or sell you on something? Not at all. It doesn't even come across to you in your mind. That is how subtle it can be done if you do it effectively. All right. Funny is money. You want to be humorous and funny on stage. You don't have to tell dumb dad jokes. I mean, I don't know, maybe it would help or not. But in your presentation, you want to definitely try to be funny and humorous because it does connect with the audience. Then we also talked about connecting with the audience. One of the things that you want to do, I think one of the most important things is understand that you're the one that controls the emotions of what's going on in that audience. And you're responsible for that. And that is going to also be the downfall or the success if you're able to sell products. That is going to be the determining factor how well you're going to do. Because if you get them into an emotion of buying and excitement and they feel so connected to you, people buy people, not products. Think about that. Because there's products that you have bought that the competition also sold but didn't sell you. The reason you bought what you bought because you liked the person. There's a big difference. So remember, people buy people, not products. So you want to do all these things that I spoke about earlier. You want to do these things because it makes you more likable. They trust you more. These are all things that are done intentionally. And also be thinking about the octaves of emotions. Look at the presentation that you have now. When you talk about something exciting, can you add some adjectives to it? When you talk about something that's painful, can you add a story in that so they can feel the emotion. It felt like somebody ripped my heart open and ripped it against a cheese grater. The pace also in which you say that is very, very important. I don't say that story very quickly. I say it slowly. I pause. Why am I pausing? I want them to feel the impact of the what? Of the emotion. That's why I pause. And then you want to make sure you have testimonials. Look for testimonials. I've been doing this for 30 years, over 3,000 presentations. I took about 4 or 5 years off recently. I'm getting back on it again. I'm excited about it. Take us what I'm going to continue to still get. You got it. Testimonials. And I got a slew of them. I want to get more and more and more. Make it one of your goals. After you're done with your presentation, get at least 3 to 5 testimonials, depending on the size of your audience. If it's a huge, huge audience, make sure you bring somebody with you to film the testimonials. Make sure you know how to do that. And also, just one quick tip on testimonials. If you are filming testimonials, let's say you just did a presentation, don't film, let's say you're going to get 5 people to offer you testimonials. Don't record the 5 testimonials in the exact same spot because it looks too same. You want to make it look fresh. So you do one inside the event auditorium. You do one maybe in the hallway. You do one maybe in the bathroom. I'm just kidding, trying to get a little humor there. No, you do one outside, maybe by a pond or the tree. Just be different about it. Have variety in it, so it just doesn't look like it's in the same location all the time. All right, there you have it. If you want to learn more about how to grow your business, I have an incredible 5-day program. It's only an hour or 2 a day. It's all online. It's coming up. It's right around the corner. We'll have the link here in the video or below the video somewhere. Join that. This is just the tip of the iceberg. Love to see your comments below if there's a section for comments. And I hope you take this information, apply it. Like I said, I've got 30 years in this, and I have been able to really work hard to make this happen. And one of the things that you want to do, if you want to be a really good, engaging speaker, a couple things I want to wrap up with, I want you to think about. Think about making sure that you practice, practice, practice. You must master the ability to be a very, very good speaker. Notice how many times I said the word or so. I've learned to eliminate those words. Those are things that you do when you practice over and over and over again. And then the next thing, don't give up. Get so skilled at this. Just keep going at it, keep going at it. Even to this day, after 3,000 plus speaking engagements, the next speaking engagement that I do, I'll be recording it, then I watch it. And I watch it over and over and over again. I'll leave you with this one final thing. There's a comedian, a very well-known comedian, and he's done 30 years of comic, 30 years. To this day, and he fills auditoriums, to this day, he has 2 of his friends watch his presentation, and they write down everything they think they need to change. And then after the presentation sometime, they debrief and figure out what can we do to make it better. What I mean by that is he'll tell a joke. And then let's say everybody laughs for 5 seconds. They'll figure out, well, wait a minute, could we say it differently to get them to laugh for 10 seconds? Did we put the joke in the wrong place? Maybe we should put the joke over here and not over here. I mean, after 30 years, they're still working on perfecting their craft. And if you're going to put this much time and energy into it, you may as well make sure you monetize it, because you don't want to be a poor speaker. You want to be successful at this. You want to be successful financially at it. And then you also want to make an incredible impact on people's lives. One of my goals when I go ahead and get on stage is to change my audience's behavior for the best. All right, click the link below if you want to join this event that I've got coming up, or I'll find the link wherever it's at. Look forward to getting to meet you and maybe know more about you and help you in your journey of success. I'm out of here between now and the next time we get to chat. You know what to do. And if you don't, you do now. Don't let others rent space in your head. Have a blessed day and enjoy the journey.